Hello, I'm Natalia. I am a researcher in cultural studies at the University of Ljubljana, Slovenia, and I'm also a co-leader of Working Group 1 of the Cost Action Grade. Working Group 1 is called Digital Grassroots across Europe, and my co-leaders are Kieran Nolan and Alex Wade. Working Group 1 is about researching what constitutes digital grassroots across Europe. So one of the foci is the word across. We're looking at cultures of creativity and cultures of computing across Europe from the 1970s until the mid-1990s, which coincides with the beginning of the commercialized internet. So we're looking at how people were creative in their different uses of computers, and by creativity, we understand those uses of computers that were not necessarily what the manufacturers had foreseen them to be. We're also looking at the diversity of these kinds of uses, either for work or for leisure or for something in between. So by diversity, I mean the fact that the ways in which people accessed computers and engaged with them differed in different parts of Europe. For example, in parts like Eastern Europe or Southeastern Europe, getting access to a computer and to video games could be an adventure in itself. You'd have to go across the border, you'd have to smuggle pieces, and so on. Having said this, of course, it's important to note that we're not so much interested in the legal status of these activities. So if you consider yourself a pirate, that might as well be an asset for our working group. We're interested in the people, the physical artifacts, the communities, and the practices formed around different types of creativity that has to do with computers, video games, and other related technological solutions. We're looking at practices such as communities formed around different devices, like the ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64, Amigas, and so on. We're looking at communities of people looking at how to make technological solutions more fun, more accessible, and more available. We're looking at stories, for example, such as broadcasting software over radio stations, which was something that would occur in the former socialist Yugoslavia. We're looking at names and groups of people who are not necessarily a part of the canon of the history of computer science. Women who in this respect constitute a minority, also neurodivergent persons, also people which in one way or another stand out with regard to our first stereotypical impressions or associations that we might have when somebody mentions the word computer scientist, geek, or game developer. So far, the working group has produced a virtual library, Zotero-based, which is a great compilation of resources on creative computing around Europe. The working library is a work in progress, so you can always join in and help us make it even better, even more comprehensive. We will also be doing an edited volume on digital grassroots across Europe, focusing on the transnational and transcultural histories of computing, highlighting the fact that these histories are very difficult to compartmentalize and to place within a framework such as the nation. Among other factors, also because some of the nation states that were key to the formation of creative computing cultures across Europe no longer exist. For example, the Soviet Union, the two Germanys, or the former socialist Yugoslavia. So we are producing open educational resources which can be used, or which are meant to be used by different communities that are involved in making people more aware or in educating people about the history and different histories of computing and creativity, an edited volume, the virtual library, and we're also very active in organizing different events. So far, we have met in Poland, in Finland, and in Turkey, and there will be many more knowledge exchange gatherings over the course of the Cost Action. If you have any kind of experience or knowledge that has to do with a unique understanding of creativity and the creative use of software or hardware, or if you're familiar with a piece of history that you haven't seen in existent literature on the history of computer science, please get in touch with us. We're also looking forward to hearing more from people working in the field, so perhaps people involved in different computer-related and gaming-related communities, institutions, archives, enthusiasts, grassroots archivists, people who have small home museums or attics full of hardware that's virtually obsolete. You can all get in touch. The benefit that you might get from joining Working Group 1 would be familiarizing yourself with the different contexts in which your story might gain extra layers of relevance. For example, our action would enable you to see it in a transnational and transcultural context and to find out what is actually very unique about it and to what extent and in what ways it relates to broader regional, national, transnational and global trends, which might have to do with anything from fashion to technology development, trends in education, trends in the development of museums, and so on.